Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to Plastic Paddy's podcast, episode number 13. It's lucky for some, unlucky for others. Welcome back. How are you all? Have you missed me? I've missed doing this so much. I've missed you all. I didn't put out an episode last week. Forgive me. Life is busy. I have a full-time job like everybody else. I have to work, have to pay them bills, girl. So yeah, I didn't get one out last week. You just have them weeks sometimes where life just catches up on you, It was just one of those weeks. But I hope you all listened to the episode before last week, 2 weeks ago, which was episode number 12, which was my first ever interview with my first ever guest. It was with the unreal Aoife Corley. She is, if you haven't watched it already, she is a print and textiles artist from Limerick. She is amazing. Her work is amazing. I'll link that video below so you can go and watch it. It was a really, really good chat. That was part one. We are going to do a part two, but yeah, please go and listen to that. You might notice I've got a different microphone. I'm just trying this out. I don't know how I feel about holding it. I look like a proper podcaster though, don't I? But one day I'm going to have a proper boom and all that stuff, when I'm no longer filming in my bedroom, when I'm filming in an actual podcast studio. Yeah, it'll be better. But I'm just trying it. See if anybody notices the difference, if you think it's better or worse or whatever, please let me know. Please comment, because that would actually be really helpful feedback. And I don't know how I'm going to feel about holding this up, and I'm probably not going to remember to keep it in my mouth the whole time. But we'll see how we go on. Episode 13. What are we talking about? What are we talking about today? So we're still on the topic, believe it or not, of Irish beliefs. Talking about mythology. So I've done an episode on each of the mythological cycles, and then I obviously did an episode interviewing Aoife about her work, her art, and a lot of her work is centered around Irish mythology. And Celtic revival and stuff like that. So we're still on the subject of mythology. And I thought what I would do is, since I've gone through the cycles, I would just focus in on some more like the tales. So the cycles just sort of gave an outline of Irish mythology, but some of the specific tales within those cycles are really amazing. So I just wanted to sort of tell you guys about them. So yeah, that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to tell you the story or the tale of Tir na Nog and Oisin and Niamh. But anyway, before we get into that, welcome back. I haven't even done a proper introduction. Welcome back, Kay Me the Vulture, to you all. I was debating whether to do an episode number 13 or not, because some people think it's unlucky, and if I was debating it, maybe I, on some level, think it's unlucky. I was like, oh, do I do it? Is it going to jinx me or whatever? But if any of you have listened to the episode that I did with Shauna, who used to host this podcast with me, we did an episode also on Irish beliefs about sort of superstitions, and we spoke about that. We spoke about the number 13 being kind of unlucky for people, and people, kind of thinking that the number 13 has a bad omen and is going to bring you bad luck. And on that same episode, I told a story about my great grandmother. Her name was Nellie, and growing up, she was on the list for a council house, like most people were back in those days. And the first house that she got offered was number 13, and nobody else in the area would take it because they were all very superstitious, even though they were all Catholic and supposed to be, God worshipping. They all still had these superstitions, so nobody would take the house. But she had 5 kids, she desperately needed somewhere to live. So she was I think she had reservations about it at first. And then she was like, no, I'm going to take it. This is ridiculous. What am I doing? So I thought about her. I thought about my great granny, Nellie. We called her little grandma. She was tiny. But yeah, I was like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do an episode number 13 in honour of my great granny, because she was, she was a force to be reckoned with, my little granny. She had no finger. She had a finger missing, her ring finger like that, because it got chopped off working in a factory. Yeah, she was a lovely, lovely woman. Anyway, that was very off topic. I have to say a massive thank you. Even though I didn't post last week, my following has still gone up a little bit. So I'm now on 121 followers on Instagram. I've got 97 followers on TikTok. I really want to get to 100 on there. And I've got 17 subscribers on YouTube. So thank you so much to everybody who's like still watching and listening and, you know, interacting. I don't know how many downloads I've had this week on Spotify. I've not checked the email yet, but I will. So yeah, thank you so much. You know, like, because this is so new and I'm like not really got a clue what I'm doing. I thought, oh no, like for sure people are going to unsubscribe and or like I'm going to lose followers or whatever, but, you know, because I didn't put one out last week, so I was a bit like, oh, but they didn't. I actually went up a little bit. So again, thank you. Anybody that's listening and isn't subscribed or following me on Instagram, please go and do that. It's Plastic Paddy's podcast on all socials. I'll put it up on the screen here. But yeah, please follow me. That would be very much appreciated. Yeah, so as I said, I'm going to be talking about the tale of Tina No today and Oisin and Niamh. But before we get into that, you know what it's time for, and you know what I'm going to say. I still don't have a jingle. I still don't have a jingle. Callum, get me a jingle. I'm going to message you straight after I record this actually to see if you've done it yet. But it's time for Irish Word of the Week. So this week I figured since I'm going to tell you a story, I should probably do an Irish Word of the Week in the realm of that. So I've gone with, and before anybody starts, I don't consider myself one of these. I don't consider myself a great storyteller or whatever. You know, it's just on theme. I've gone with the word Shanachie, which I also spoke about in a previous episode from the Shanachie storytelling night that they have on in London. It's an Irish run event. But the word Shanachie, it's a Shanachie is somebody in Ireland that goes around and telling tales and stories and legends from memory, like folk tales and stuff. It used to be like a occupation. People would pay them to hear their stories, but you know, I don't know. Maybe there are modern day ones. I'm not sure. But I think it's kind of dying out a little bit now. But yeah, Shanachie, that's what it means. I Google translated it and it directly translates into the English word oldie. I don't know if that's right. If anybody knows, can you please let me know, like comment down below. Does Shanachie, if you translate it literally, mean oldie? I mean, I can see why. It kind of makes sense. I suppose these storytellers tended to be older gentlemen or people. But yeah, that was Irish Word of the Week. So as I said, I didn't put one out last week, so I feel like I've not sat here and spoken to you guys for ages. So I'm going to catch you up on my, well, I was going to say week, but my last 2 weeks. What have I been up to? Oh, well, obviously I mentioned it already, but I'm going to say it again. I released episode 12 with my first ever guest and did my first ever interview. I think it went really well. I really enjoyed it. Like, Aoife was so up for it. She was literally a dream to work with. She's such a nice girl. We met up in Dublin and I hired out just like this little meeting room kind of in like an office space. And yeah, she just came and she was in such a good mood and like she was just really, really up for it. She was amazing. And I feel, this is not rare that I say, this is not, I mean, it is rare that I say this stuff about myself, but I feel quite proud of myself for doing it. You know, I just messaged her on Instagram, we organised it, we set it up and I just did it, and I've never interviewed anybody before. So yeah, it went really, really well. It's also been my birthday. I turned 34, guys. I can't believe I'm in my mid-30s. That is wild. I saw a video on TikTok the other day saying like this young girl saying that, like basically what everybody tells you is going to happen when you turn 30, that especially as a woman, like you're basically just going to like shrivel up and die, that you're no longer like, you know, useful in society or whatever. But I just left a comment underneath saying something like, oh, you know, like your 30s are your best years, you know yourself so much more, you love yourself so much more, you don't care what people think, blah blah blah. And that is true. Like that is really how I feel. And I was just like saying, I can't wait for all the girls to like experience this. And plus you have adult money, so you like yourself and you've got your own like adult money. It's like it's a great time. So yeah, it was my birthday, and I had the most wholesome birthday celebrations ever. On my birthday was on a weekday. It was on a Thursday, which is also the day that I was born on, and I just stayed in on my actual birthday. Me and my boyfriend just stayed in, and we watched the new series of Black Mirror and just got a takeaway. New series of Black Mirror. I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody that hasn't watched it, but I will just give my opinion, and my opinion is that I was extremely, extremely underwhelmed. I love Black Mirror. I think the concept is really good. I think the dystopia idea, the theme that runs through every series and every episode is brilliant. I don't want to give anything away or say any spoilers, but I just was so underwhelmed. I think there's probably, this is just my opinion, I'd say there's probably 2 good episodes in the whole series. So yeah, that was a bit disappointing. But anyway, it was still good. We stayed in, just got a takeaway and watched Black Mirror, like I said. And then on that weekend, my mum hosted a little birthday get together for me. So we just did we cooked a little bit of food. We just had finger food, a little buffet, and just a few of my friends and family just went to my mum's, and we just ate and had music on and just played games. We did an escape room game. It was really, really fun, and that's so my vibe. Just small gathering, just doing fun, wholesome stuff, my cousin baked my birthday cake. It was amazing. So that's what I did for my birthday. Also, the reason I didn't actually make a video last week is because I have handed my notice in at my current job, and I had an interview for another job, so I was prepping for that and all that stuff. So yeah, I've had a busy couple of weeks, to be honest. I did mention before, I've mentioned here on here as well before, that I'm actually going to New York in September. I cannot wait. That's booked. We booked accommodation the other day, so now everything that we've needed to pay for is paid for, so I can just start saving, and yeah, that's something I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I'm going to film and stuff while I'm there, so yeah, stay tuned for that. Anyway, that was my catch up on my last 2 weeks. If any of you have been up to anything interesting, tell me, let me know in the comments below. But now it's time for, what the next thing is now. It's time for Irish News Story of the Week. I'm sorry. All I can do is apologise, guys. There will one day be a jingle and you won't have to listen to that. You won't have to listen to that anymore. But for now, I say this all the time, I'm doing what I can with what I have, and we're just doing it anyway. So, Irish News Story of the Week. It's a bit of a sad story this week, to be honest with you. Some big news for the London Irish community. Basically, there's been a rugby club in London called the London Irish, and they've been here for, I believe it was 125 years. This club had been going. They're a professional rugby club, but they've recently collapsed. Basically, the London Irish rugby team no longer exists anymore, which is really a shame. They got into debt, basically, I think, and then they just had to, it just liquidated, which is so sad because it's a big part of the community here. It's 125 years. That's such a long time for a club to be well, is it? I don't know much about rugby clubs, to be honest. Here's me acting like I'm an expert. That's such a long time. I don't know. Maybe other rugby clubs have been around a lot longer, but it is still a long time, 125 years. So yeah, they're gone. They've liquidated, which is really, really sad. So RIP the London Irish Rugby Club. And there's another bit of juicy gossip that I just have to mention this week in Irish news. Has everybody seen this thing that's going on with RTE? And the Ryan, is his name Tubridy? I always don't know how to pronounce his surname. And his pay, and them not disclosing exactly how much he was getting paid, and he was getting extra money from these advertisers that had their commercials on during the Late Late Show, and it's all been leaked. So RTE are like in the shit now. Basically, for anybody that doesn't know, RTE is like paid for through by like the public, paid for by like TV licenses. It's like the BBC. The BBC is the same here in the UK. We pay our TV license, and that's how the BBC is funded. In Ireland, it's the same with RTE. So anything that they do with like payments or like has to go, that they have to prove basically where their money is going and what they're spending their money on to like the government. And it's now been leaked that they've been kind of shifting money around and not declaring certain things and like just making dodgy payments. But yeah, and obviously anybody that keeps up with Irish pop culture will know that Ryan, I think his name's Tubridy, God only knows, but he's recently left presenting the Late Late Show after like years and years and years. And obviously I'm sure he was hoping to go out on a really good note, like this angelic guy that presented the same show for years and was, amazing and like a national treasure and everyone loved him. And then this has all come out that he was sort of getting like little, handouts like, don't tell anyone, this is a little bit of side money or whatever. So, and this has only happened in the last couple of days, so we will see what happens with that. But I saw online that it got brought up in the Dáil and stuff. They were talking about it. So yeah, how interesting. The drama. It's the drama, Mick. I just love it. Anyway, let's get into what we're all here for. Let's get into the good stuff. As I said, we're going to talk about I feel like I've just repeated myself so many times, but anyway, we move. I said we're going to talk about the tale of Tir na nÓg and the tale of Oisin and Niamh. So let's get into it. Basically, for anybody that doesn't know, Tir na nÓg is the land. It's also known as the land of eternal youth, and it's basically the other. In Ireland, it's basically like the other world, so like another realm or another dimension, and it's home to the Tuatha Dé Danann, who are like a magical. They're like an Irish like magical race. They're magical beings basically. And years and years and years ago, legend has it that there was big battles between the Tuatha. They used to live on Ireland in our realm, the Tuatha Dé Danann, and there was big battles between the Tuatha Dé Danann and these people called the Milesians. Now the Milesians are just mortals, and they are supposedly the direct descendants of the modern day Irish population. So these two groups of people were having massive battles for the land, basically, and they. After years and years of fighting, they came to an agreement. I said fighting then, not farting. It kind of sounded like I said after years and years of farting. I said fighting. They came to an agreement that the Tuatha Dé Danann would live in the Tir na nÓg, in like the other world, in like this other realm, and the Milesians would live on the island of Ireland in the mortal realm. So that's how it's always been. And in Tir na nÓg, because it's a magical place, time runs differently to how it runs here. It's like the land of eternal youth, basically. So people don't age, people don't die. Yeah, everybody stays young and sexy and beautiful just forever. And it's full of like the Aishi, so not just the gods and goddesses of Ireland and the Tuatha Dé Danann, but other kind of mythical creatures and fairy folk basically all live in this land. So and there is a way that you can travel between the mortal realm and Tir na nÓg, and it's through like these portals that are called, like, I think they're called scythes or fairy folk fairy forts, in English. And then, so yeah, that's Tir na nÓg. Basically, it's like a magical other realm that humans can't see, basically. And one of the most famous tales about Tir na nÓg is about Oisin and Niamh. It's like their love story. So the story goes like this. Long time ago in Ireland, obviously, there lived a great and noble warrior called Oisin. Now, for anybody who listened to my episode on the Fenian cycle, you will remember Oisin because he is the son of Fionn McCall, who was the captain of the Fianna, and the Fianna are like the protectors of the land of Ireland. They're like the best, strongest, bravest soldiers, and they're the protectors of Ireland. You know, they're the strongest. They're made up of the strongest, only the strongest and the best warriors. And Fionn McCall is the captain of the Fianna, and Oisin is his son. So he's pretty well known in Ireland, very well respected, and so on. He runs in like high circles or whatever. So one day, Oisin and the Fianna, his boys, are out hunting deer. They're in County Kerry. And out of nowhere, in the distance, Oisin sees like this glowing light, and the light is kind of coming closer and closer to them. And as it gets closer, they can see within the light there's like a silhouette, like a figure. It gets even closer, and they see that figure is actually a woman. However, this isn't just any woman. It is, in fact, Niamh. And Niamh now is Tuatha Dé Danann. So she's come from the land of Tir na Nog, and she is not just any Tuatha Dé Danann either. She's actually the daughter of a guy called Manannán mac Lir, who is the king of the Tuatha Dé Danann. So she is the princess of the Tuatha Dé Danann, basically. She's come to the mortal realm from Tir na Nog, aka the land of eternal youth, aka the other world. So Niamh approaches Oisin and his men on the back of this amazing white horse, beautiful white horse. She's in like a pale blue dress, and she's got long blonde hair, like waist length, and it's like blowing in the wind. Like, you can just imagine the scene, can't you? She just looks absolutely stunning. And she's literally glowing. Like, she literally has like a ethereal glow coming from her. And fun fact, her name Niamh means radiant or like glowing. So she's like the personification of her name, basically. She's literally glowing. And she rocks up on the horse, and Oisin immediately just falls in love with her. He's like, this is the most beautiful woman I've ever laid eyes on, and I must have her. So, as luck would have it, Niamh has actually been watching Oisin for some time and has completely fallen in love with him from afar. So she rocks up already in love with him, and he falls in love with her, luckily falls in love with her like basically straight away. And Niamh is not messing around. She's like, I want this man. Have you seen that clip of Brittany Broski on her podcast where she's like, I need this man biblically. I need him in a way that is concerning to feminism. It always cracks me up. That's how I imagine Niamh being with Oisin, just like an absolute woman on a mission to like get this guy. She's literally travelled across dimensions like to find him. So yeah, she's not messing around. She knows what she wants. And basically she says, would you come and live with me? Like in Tir na Nog, in the land of eternal youth. And she kind of persuades him and assures him that it's like the most beautiful place you will have ever seen. Everyone there is always happy. Nobody feels sadness or any negative emotions, and no one dies, so you don't have to feel grief, about losing the people you love. And Oisin, of course, in his googly-eyed, mushy, loved-up state, is kind of says, well, yeah, of course I'll go with you. I'm absolutely in love with you. I would follow you to the ends of the earth, if you ask me to, of course. So Oisin says goodbye to the Fianna and to Fionn, his father, and off they ride on Niamh's white horse to Tir na Nog. So they get to Tir na Nog, and everything is as Niamh promised, and even more than his little human mind could think of. And he's absolutely blown away. Like, he's never seen beauty like it. Just, it's more beautiful than what we as humans can kind of picture. All we know is the world around us. That's all we've got for reference. So this is, if you can, try and imagine something more beautiful than the most beautiful nature that we have here. So he's like buzzing, like, I've definitely made the right decision coming here. This is like amazing. So them two get married, and that means, of course, in the first few months of his arrival, he's absolutely loving life. Like, there's so many celebrations happening. Him and Niamh get married. There's like a huge celebration feast for their wedding. There's a big celebration feast for Oisin arriving. You know, everybody's welcoming him. Obviously, she's the princess and he's just married her, so he's running in her circles, like, you know, circles of royalty, kind of like. So yeah, there's loads of stuff going on, celebrations and feasts and all the rest of it. And of course, he's come from the mortal world, so he's the new kid on the block. Everybody kind of wants to be involved with him, so everyone is inviting him over, and we want to, tell us stories from what it's like living in the mortal realm. Like, so he's telling everybody about the Fina and about his father and about how powerful this, amazing army is, and that they're the protectors of the land, basically. He's booked and busy, basically, is what Oisin is. Oisin is booked and busy for these first few months that he arrives in Tir na nÓg. Everybody wants a piece of him. So some months pass, and after everything, the excitement is all kind of dying down a little bit. Oisin, although he is absolutely still loving life in Tir na nÓg, is kind of starting to miss his dad, Fionn McCall, and the rest of the boys, the Fina, and just his old life. He's kind of like, oh, I'm starting to miss everybody a little bit now. He's been there for a few months. But Niamh and Oisin end up having 3 children, which, obviously keeps him busy and occupied for some time. So he kind of puts those thoughts of missing his family and stuff to the back of his mind and, just lives his life there with Niamh and the kids. About 3 years passes at this point, and he can't shake this feeling of missing them. Like, he's like, I've tried my best. I thought the kids would kind of maybe fill that hole, but I really want to see my dad, and I really want to see the boys of the Fina, and I just want to go back, for a little bit. So he begs Niamh. He's like, please, can I just go home? Just, I want to go Earthside just for a little while, just to say hello to everyone and see how they are and blah, blah, blah. And, Niamh can see how much it's bothering him and how much he needs it. So she's like, okay, you can go. And she also says to him, remember when we first met and I asked you to come here with me? Well, I kind of maybe left out quite a big detail. And that detail is that time in this realm runs extremely differently than it does in your mortal realm. So when you go back, I have to warn you that you categorically cannot, absolutely must not let your feet touch the ground of the earth. Not even your pinky toe can touch the ground, okay? If you do, if you go back there and touch the ground, you can never return back to Tir na nÓg, and you will never see me and the kids ever again. She says, you can go if you want, and you can take my horse, but you promise me you do not get off the horse and you don't touch the ground. And Oisin's like, all right, don't get your knickers in a twist, love. It's fine. I promise I won't get off the horse. Give me a break. So off he goes back to the mortal realm on Niamh's horse. He arrives and he doesn't recognise the place when he gets there. So the landscape looks completely different. The castle that he used to live in is kind of crumbled almost to a ruin now. He doesn't recognise a single face. He doesn't know any of the people that are around him, and he's really confused. He's like, what is happening? Where is everyone? And what has happened to this place? What on earth has happened to my home? So then he runs into this group of guys who are all trying to move this massive rock, massive boulder. And he's like, lads, where is my dad? And where are the rest of the Fina? Where's Fionn McCall and where are the rest of the Fina? And these guys put down this rock and they look at him like he is an absolute weirdo, like he's mad. They're like, Fionn McCall, the Fina. They're like, are you talking about characters from our stories and legends? You do know that these aren't real people. What are you talking about? And at this point, Oisin is freaking out. He's like, there's absolutely no way. I was in the Fina. These people are real. What are you talking about? I'm not mad. And he's like, the Fina are the best strongest warriors in all of this land. Like, what are you talking about? And these guys are like, what? And no, absolutely not. These people are characters from stories. And he says, do you know what? If you don't believe me, any one of us, any one of these, of the Fina, see that rock you're trying to carry, we would be strong enough to carry that rock by ourselves. And the guys are obviously like, you're definitely lying, but if you're going to make such a big statement, prove it. Go on, you prove it. So Oisin attempts to pick up the rock, and remembering in his mind what Niamh had said to him, that you cannot get off the horse and your feet cannot touch the ground, he's like, right, I'll have to do it sitting on the back of the horse. So as he leans over to pick up this rock, he falls off the horse, and dun dun dun, he hits the ground. And the absolute second the first bit of his body touches the ground, he right then and there turns into an old, kind of frail, tiny, like weak man. He like shrivels up basically. And it turns out that the 3 years that Oisin had been in Tir na nOg was actually 300 years in the mortal realm. And now, because he touched the earth, like Niamh told him he couldn't do, he no longer had eternal youth. These 300 years had now caught up with him, and he was a tiny old frail man. So that as soon as he touches the floor, the horse rides off back to Tir na nOg, and he's got no way of getting back there now. So he will never see Niamh or his children ever again, which is obviously really sad. And the fact that he knows he won't see them again, coupled with the fact that he's just realised that all of his friends and family and every single person he's ever known died hundreds of years ago, absolutely just breaks Oisin's heart. He's like, he's devastated. So the men that have witnessed this happen, a man has just aged hundreds of years right in front of their face. They're a little bit freaked out, understandably, and they decide to take Oisin to St. Patrick to see if he can do anything for him. They're like, can you reverse it? Can you get him his youth back, or can you at least like cure his heartbreak? Like, do something for the guy. But sadly, nothing can be done. So Oisin lives out the rest of his days, his very, very short life actually, in Ireland, just telling the tales of the Fina and his father, Fionn McCall, and their triumph in battle and how amazing this army was, telling his stories of Tir na nOg and his life amongst the gods and the goddesses. But soon after, Oisin died. He died of old age, but thankfully, obviously, the tale of the land of eternal youth still is with us today, which is amazing. But yeah, lads, that was the end of the story. I just love that story. I think it's sweet. I think it's a love story, and I adore the like imagery. Like when I imagine Niamh rocking up on her horse, just like this glowing, beautiful woman. What a love story, eh? But anyway, lads, I feel like I've rambled on enough. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, follow me on social media. Like I said, Instagram, TikTok, Plastic Paddy's podcast on all socials. Again, I'll put it up on the screen. Listen wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, etc. Also, go and listen to my Plastic Paddy's podcast playlist on Spotify. I will also link that below. It's really good. I keep adding more and more songs to it. It's really, really good. And yeah, thank you so much for listening, guys. I'm so happy to be back, and tune in next week because I've got another story coming. So listen, thanks a lot. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.